I just want to welcome all attendees to the off-duty programs software only versus managed solution webinar. Of course, this is being sponsored by Off-Duty Management in a partnership with the FBI National Academy Associates. I would imagine most of our people that are going to be attending the call today may be NA graduates or in an agency where they've got some. So we want to welcome all of them. I see Assistant Chief is on now. Can you hear me, Chief?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Kelsey just got us kicked off here. Is Detective Choppa gonna be joining us as well too?
Yes, he's trying to log on. He's trying to do it remotely from home, but we're working on him.
Okay, super, good deal. Well, I'll just start off with a quick introduction of myself. I'm John Neal. I'm a retired chief at Ridgeland Police Department in Mississippi. Served 34.5 years with the Ridgeland Police Department, all with that one agency. And I did my last 7 as the chief of police. And during my career, I had the distinct pleasure, or maybe the displeasure, depending on what your role is, to be involved in our off-duty jobs program on several different levels. And as a young police officer who's looking to put an extra $100 bill in my pocket working these details was certainly something that interested me and something that I wanted to do. But then as I grew in the agency, I became an agency coordinator, handled the administrative duties of the program and the headaches that come along with that sometimes. But then as I reached the rank of chief, I watched our personnel handle the burdens of our jobs program and the challenges that we face within Ridgeland PD and trying to manage those. So for the next little while, we're just going to be talking with a couple of law enforcement professionals from the FAR Texas Police Department who have experiences with both the software-only solution, but also with the full-service platform for administering the off-duty jobs within their department. And just as an educational point, I want to let everybody know the city of FAR is kind of down in the southernmost tip of Texas, just north of the Mexican border. And Chief, if I'm correct, I believe y'all got a population of about 80,000 people with the force of around 150 sworn, which probably is a pretty typical footprint of a lot of agencies around the U.S. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, John, that is correct.
Okay, I'm going to give you just a few seconds if you would. If you just want to take a moment and introduce yourself to the audience, a little bit about your history, and then we'll probably start off with some questions soon after that.
Sure. Thank you, John. Well, my name is Joel Robles. I'm the assistant chief here for the city of FAR. I've been with the FAR Police Department. This is my 30th year. And just like John, I started off same department, moved up through the ranks. And right now, I mean, great analogy that you brought up, John. I think it's very, very similar to my history with off-duty employment. You try to work those extra jobs to, like you said, bring that extra $100 in. And then, we as we grew as a department, you promote and you go up the ranks. And I was assigned the duty of overseeing all the off-duty jobs and getting people scheduled and lined up to work those extra jobs. Born and raised here in South Texas, love the area, love our geographic surroundings. I guess in a nutshell, that's pretty much me.
Oh, okay, super. I was going to give the detective a minute to introduce himself. I see he's still not on with us. As soon as we do get him booted up, we'll pause and just let him talk a little bit about himself. So kind of what we're going to look at is why do agencies even have off-duty jobs programs in the first place? And I guess the simplest explanation is that these agencies, they need to provide additional security-related protections for some of the private businesses and the other entities outside of an officer's normal work hours and their duty-related tasks. So in a law enforcement organization, an effective off-duty jobs program would benefit the officers as well as provide protections to them. But not only are we concerned about the officers, but we're also concerned about their home law enforcement agency as well too, and also the customers that they serve. So when you're looking for a full service solution, you want to make sure that all 3 of these entities are covered in that. Law enforcement officers work these jobs in their free time, and it's not necessarily because they love to put on the uniform, but more often than not because you've got Christmas coming up and you've got to buy presents and toys for the kids. there's a family vacation that's on the horizon, and they need some money for that. Children are headed to college, and God knows that's an expensive undertaking nowadays. As well as sometimes they just want a little bit better life for themselves, whether they're going to upgrade a car, do an addition to the house or whatever it may be. They're always working these jobs just to live a little bit better life. So as police leaders, I think the heads of the organizations should do everything they can to put a program in place that's going to benefit all of those affected parties. The departments buy the best guns, we put the best uniforms on them, give them the best vehicles, the best comms equipment that they can have. So why not go ahead and put the best off-duty jobs program in place for them. So with that being said, Chief, if you don't mind, we'll go and just jump into a couple of questions here.
Sure.
I know that y'all are currently with a full service solution, but let's go back 5 or 10 years or so, back when you were probably deep in the administration of the program. Kind of tell me what y'all's program was like before you sought out a solution in the first place, and kind of going back to the foundation of it.
Absolutely, John. And initially, our region, we're very fortunate that yes, there's a lot of the private sector. There is a lot of need for security, and prior to us having this third party vendor, well, it was me. I was stuck putting up sign up sheets. I was stuck putting up rosters. I had 4 or 5 different groups of text message groups for each watch for investigations, and typically on a Monday I would come in and I'd be busy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trying to find people to fill the open jobs for the upcoming week and upcoming week. And it was really taking up, I want to say about 70% of my time, and having to pay the officers, and there were vendors that weren't paying, and chasing them. So it was very, very tedious. It took a lot of time from us. In 2020, we got a new chief, and this chief came from the Dallas area. And I thank the Lord, and I feel as a blessed man that he brought this idea. He saw the work that I was doing, and he said, "Joel, what are you doing? You're spending way too much time on that job assignment." So he introduced a off-duty management vendor, and it really changed. And my productivity, because I was able to go from 70% of my time dealing with off-duty jobs to maybe 5-10%. Mm-hmm. And it's it's a very, very helpful solution. It's improved the productivity for our department as far as supervisors and managers. It's helped ease the payment of our officer. There's no longer, "Hey, I lost an invoice," or "Hey, I haven't gotten paid." No, it's the format that we have. Our guys get paid, and I know we spoke last week, and jokingly we said, you don't want to have a upset police officer because they haven't gotten paid, because then you're not going to get him working on his regular 8-hour shift. So, in a nutshell, that's been our journey involving off-duty jobs, and the introduction of this off-duty management platforms.
And that you make a lot of great points in that. And as our team travels around the country and talks to agencies, whether it's 2 or 3 man agencies, or all the way up to 2,500, 3,000 member agencies, we're hearing the same thing nationwide, that there's usually a Excel spreadsheet that's tacked on the board. People sign up for it. Back in the day, I remember putting my name on that board and coming back 10 minutes later, somebody would have whited my name out and put their name over, because we fought for all those jobs.
Yep.
So now having a solution out there to where you can keep track of that and know who's working it, who's supposed to be where, when they're supposed to be there, is certainly beneficial to the agencies. But we also hear, just like you talked about, the headaches that internal coordinators face when those jobs come to you, and the amount of time and effort and work that goes into it just to get the word out to the officers, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's a blast out email and waiting on those responses and who's going to answer and who's not. And then you're taking phone calls from your business community, wanting to know who's going to be coming to my business tonight. So, that says a lot for where y'all were and where you're at right now. So after you started using this full service solution, what's been the internal rumblings with the officers and those that are working the jobs? What's their satisfaction level now compared to what it was?
Well, it's night and day, John. And cops are cops, whether it's in the north part of the nation, the south side, east, or west, cops are cops. And the first thing they're going to tell you, hey, you're being unfair in the distribution of the jobs. With the software that we have now, that's not the case. The system itself has different algorithms that puts the number of hours worked, and it distributes the jobs fairly and instantly. Since the introduction of this program, zero complaints in that aspect, John. And and it's very, very helpful because us gray-haired guys, it's a lot easier to get the younger staff on their mobile phones. It's an app-based system. I mean, they're on their phones all the time anyways. So right. It just so flawless, so easy to get those jobs pushed out. Everybody gets the same opportunity at all of them, and they're distributed equally and in a timely manner.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important to us as well too, is making sure that we don't have those internal complaints that as administrators, you don't ever want a disgruntled officer to come into your office and file some kind of a grievance, especially on secondary jobs programs.
Absolutely.
And keeping the administrator's hat on, one thing that I mentioned early on is we want to make sure that there's a solution out there that protects not only the officer while they're working these jobs, but also the agencies and the customers out there. As a young cop, you could care less about insurance. You just want to make sure that the money was green and that it came in timely. So what's some of the things that you've noticed with a solution that protects those officers in ways that they really don't think about?
Oh, definitely, John. I know the current vendor that we have right now, little backstory. We started with a different vendor, and as management, we have to inform our staff, hey, when you're working off-duty jobs, the city's insurance will not cover you. It won't cover you for a slip and fall. It won't cover you for, rolling your ankle, things like that. And you try to explain to them color of law action. And like you said, the younger officer, they really don't worry about that stuff. They just see the money at the end of their second job. But it's very, very important from the management perspective that you got to have your staff covered. You got to have coverage not only for the department, you got to have coverage for the employee, and you got to have coverage for the vendor, because the last thing you need is for a big box store to leave your city because of a lawsuit that was generated based on a police action. So the current vendor that we have, has resolved those issues for us. And it's important that now our staff understand and realize the difference between the two companies that we've had. I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it anyways. They're not nickel and dimed for that insurance coverage. It's automatic. And now the troops understand, hey, you know what? The boss is really looking out for us. They do have our best interest in mind.
Well, good. And I know it does you good to know that they realize that. And usually you don't get an educational moment like that with some of these young officers on something that they won't see until 15 years into their career. Let's talk about some of the tragedies that happen on these jobs every now and then. Detective Chapa that works with FAR, I believe was working a secondary off-duty job on a road paving construction project. And I just want you to go back to that time in history with FAR when you got that phone call that you had an officer that was injured. And, you know, we never want to hear that it happens on duty, obviously, but then when they're working a side job, to put that extra $100 in their pocket. Tell us about what that phone call was like and some of the headaches that FAR went through with Detective Chapa's healing.
Absolutely. And, you know, the previous vendor that we had, and I hate to, you know, be negative in any way, but, you know, they had this option where the officer had to purchase secondary insurance through them. So, you know, the officer was getting dinged on his final payment. And like you said, cops are cops, man, and they'd rather have that money at the end than have to worry about paying. And they're really not thinking. And unfortunately, Detective Chapa was working, and freak accident. The wind blew a traffic sign and it struck him on the head. Pretty deep gash, a significant injury. He was out for a bit. And when I got that call, you know, I said, hey, well, you know, the vendor's got insurance. We'll get covered. There won't be an issue. So the next morning I come in and I start working on Detective Chapa's, you know, claim. And, you know, initially the city says, oh, no, we don't cover that claim. The paving company has to cover it because they hired him. I was like, okay, that's understandable. So I reach out to the paving company. They said, no, hold on. We have a contract with this vendor. They are the ones that have to pay for the claim. Reach out to the vendor. And the vendor says, I'm sorry, we're excluded because the officer did not pay $1 for every hour that he was working to get that insurance coverage. And John, I felt terrible. I felt terrible because not only did Detective Chapa lose, you know, work and lose payment and lose money, but you know, he's got a big old scar on his head now. He's disfigured, and nobody paid him. Nobody helped him with his medical bills. And at that point is when I made the decision. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I think I need to find another company that is going to help us secure that our staff are taken care of in an accident like this.
Yeah, because I mean, you got roughly 150 officers that are probably working these jobs, and that's the last thing that you as an administrator want to do is have to sit down with each of them and make sure that they're checking the right boxes and doing everything that they can to protect themselves. You want a solution that's going to come in, be full service, and take care of that straight out of the box, you know, without having to tier these different packages together. You know, you're not buying a car. You're not looking, you know, to put cruise control or power windows or leather seats on it. You want the Cadillac as soon as it rolls off the showroom floor. And that's certainly what officers need and what they should expect from administrators in a agency.
Absolutely.
So you know, when you had that accident to Detective Chapa and it came time for FAR to kind of start looking for maybe another solution, a little bit better solution out there. You know, obviously we've talked about some of the insurance protections and you know, making sure that they're paid. But what were some of the other key features that you wanted to address in this new solution based off your history?
You know, and I mentioned the nickel and diming of officers, and you've addressed it twice. You know, some of our younger staff, you know, they see the now. They don't look at the future. You know, they just see the now. So a lot of them wanted to get paid immediately. You know, and this other vendor, sure, they provided the option of we'll pay you immediately, but at a cost. So if you really look at it, my staff had, not only did they have to pay for insurance for every hour that they were out there, if they wanted quick payment, they had to pay another cost. So, you know, I looked at that and I said, hey, you know what? That's not fair. Why is my employee having to pay for providing security to a vendor and having to pay this company an extra fee to get their money? So the payment process was one of the big factors that really led us to look at other vendors. The current vendor that we have now, they structured it where every 5 days, the employee gets paid and they know their money's gonna be in there without any problems. The previous vendor that we had did not have the format to where we could use for the fairness on the distribution of job sites. So that was another option. Unfortunately, you know, cops are cops. My department has 2 police associations. And the first thing they're going to hit me up with, hey, you got to be fair with my guys. So when the other company couldn't provide that for us, that was another factor that led us to want to look elsewhere. And finally, the insurance coverage. That was the main key factor that really made us go to another vendor.
Good points on all those, you know, and you mentioned that they would get nickel and dime, you know, in order to get timely payments to them and stuff like that. You know, cops work these jobs for a reason. You know, they want that money because they've got those expenses that I talked about earlier. And the last thing they want to do is they don't want to work for $1 an hour and then have to give back a little bit of that dollar because they want all that money in their pocket. You know, because it's important to them. You know, so let's talk about a little bit about from the command level perspective. You know, we as leaders in the departments, we must be financially responsible to the taxpayers and responsible for that money that's entrusted to the police department to run programs. So what were some of your cost considerations when you started looking for a solution as well? You know, keeping in mind that you're going to have to take some of your general fund budget money probably and put it in place to run a program. So what were some of those features that you were looking for in the solution?
Well, I think the amount of time that the current program that we have right now saved us. Like I said, when I was a lieutenant and then I oversaw this assignment, it was taking 70% of my time in a work week. The staff member that I have assigned to it now, you know, the technology that's in this platform that we have cuts his workload maybe 5%. Busy week, maybe 10% of his time is used up in off-duty management. So that's a big gain for our city right there. Now those 60% man hours that we were using to physically manually log down these jobs is now being taken care of by this technology platform. That's a big cost saving for us. And not only that, but the fact that our staff are going to be covered with insurance, you know, it helps us save on any downtime that we may get. Our insurance is not getting, you know, any claims being pushed on them. It's all covered by the vendor. So cost savings was the main factor that led us to go to an electronic type format of off-duty management.
You know, you mentioned earlier that younger officers, the ones that were turning to fill some of these jobs, they've always got that cell phone in their hand. They're constantly connected to some type of a social media technology type platform. So with the solution that you currently have right now, you know, those jobs are administered through that software platform on a mobile app type of an environment. So no longer are officers having to constantly check emails to see if something's been filled. You know, they get instant notification that there's a job that's available out there, which goes back to the equitable job distribution that you were talking about. Is when that notice comes out, I would imagine that it hits everybody's phone at the same time. And just like that bulletin board spreadsheet, folks know when that's going to come out. So if they want to work those jobs, they can sort of jump on them quick. Have you seen inside the department the change in attitude with officers with the way that jobs are distributed and the ease of signing up for jobs, the ease of clocking in for them, and just getting all the details of an assignment?
Night and day, John. Night and day. And you're right, we used to, we would make it to where every Monday morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, we would put up the sign up sheets, and we had a cluster of cops around that bulletin board. And, hey, get back to work, go outside. Hey, we got a call pending. No, I got to sign up. I got to do this. I got to do that. Now you're absolutely right. The alerts go out 7:30 in the morning on Monday. They have a 12-hour period to sign up. So if somebody worked the night watch, hey, they can go to sleep. They wake up at their normal time, and then they can still bid for those jobs. The equity, it's there. I mean, it's one of the main reasons we enjoy it. And not only is it signing up through the app that's available, but life happens, and there's times that if a staff member or an officer applies for a job, life happens where, hey, you know what, I can't cover it. They can check themselves off the job, and it'll automatically upload it to where other people can petition for it when it becomes available. So it saves a lot of time for our supervisor that is tasked right now to do the off-duty management. And the technology part of it, that's one of the main things that I love, because it just makes it so seamless, so easy to operate.
I was working with a agency recently who told me that one of his biggest headaches prior to going to a full service solution was when an officer needed to back off of a job.
Yep.
And usually it happens about 5:30 on a Friday afternoon. He forgets that the wife and kids and all are going out to dinner. He signed up for a job, so he needs to back off of it. And if there's not something in place that will handle the smooth transition of that, it always falls back on that internal coordinator. He gets that phone call on his way home on Friday. He just says, "Hey, Sarge, hey, Lieutenant, I can't work the shift tonight. I got something that's come up. I gotta back off of it." So now that internal coordinator scrambling, trying to find somebody last minute, that's going to be paying the same thing that officer who's had the job, for several weeks. So taking all of that internal burden off of a coordinator certainly has to help some, but also the ease for the officers in re-engaging those jobs through the platform has to be something that boosts the morale and encourages officers to want to work these jobs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're spot on, John.
So when FAR went to a solution that was going to start managing these jobs, obviously there was going to be some challenges internally, because here's another idea that the chief wants to do. We all just have to go along with it. But internal battles and internal discussions trying to get people on board with another solution is one thing. But how did your community take to the way that things were going to be done now? They're probably used to picking up the phone, calling in, talking to somebody and just say, "Hey, I need an officer on Friday night from 6 to midnight. Can you get me somebody?" So now that you've made this transition over to where your business community has got access to their own jobs, it can make the request on their own, and they can see real time what's going on with them. How did they accept going to this full service solution?
No, it was on the business side of the house. It went very smooth. The business just said, "Hey, I just want a cop. You tell me how to apply for it and I'll do it." And a lot of these companies, businesses are online oriented, so very easy, very smooth. The sergeant that we have in charge of the assignment gets those email alerts, and he puts the jobs. I mean, he can do it on his tablet or on his phone. And let's say somebody calls in at 12 midnight, "Hey, I need a cop by 7 o'clock in the morning." Based on the contract that we have, that's considered an emergency hire. And we tell the vendor, "Hey, you're going to have to pay a little bit more based on the time." "Yep, I don't care. Just give me a cop." So there's a lot of checks and balances on there. And the businesses, I have not heard a single complaint or gripe. They're willing to do it, and it makes our job a lot easier.
Well, you mentioned earlier also that they get the insurance benefits as well too. So it's not like they're paying for a service that they're not getting any benefits back in return for, which probably makes that a whole lot easier for them.
It's an easier sell for us, yes, because if they know that, I'll use Cinemark. Cinemark is not going to have to pay for a police action, and it's going to get covered by the insurance carrier. It helps us get more officers on an off-duty, job assignment there.
Right. And obviously we want to make all of our cops happy as much as we can, make it as seamless for them, making it as easy for them. It sounds like you've got a solution now that does that. So we've got the line level officers really happy. What makes the assistant chief happy? When you pull up this platform, what are some of the features from a upper command level as far as reporting and just keeping your thumb on the program to make sure that it's running right?
From the management perspective, at the end of the day, every police manager has one job, and that's we have to ensure public safety to our constituents. So with this platform that we have about 10, 12 major businesses that hire our police officers. It gives the manager peace of mind, and you have it on your phone. Okay, Cinemark's covered, Top Golf is covered. That you have cops at certain areas. So not only is somebody else paying for your police officer, heaven forbid that there's a situation, I know I haven't added 10 resources out there and I know exactly where they're at. So if they need to be taken off that job and deployed to assist on a critical situation, you have that force multiplier. The reporting aspect of the platform that we have right now, it helps, on a weekly basis. I tell my sergeant, hey, give me a report. Where are we at? How many no-shows did we have? How many no calls? And you're able to see, okay, is Top Golf being taken care of? Is Best Buy being taken care of? You're able to see those businesses, and it gives you a report to where I can go back to those general managers and say, hey, any issues with our staff? No, we're doing good. We're happy. Everybody's attending. Okay. So the reporting aspect is a good way. I've used the reporting aspect for budget needs. I can tell my city government, hey, look, I'm businesses are hiring 10, 12, 14 cops a day because this is what we have. We need more manpower. Very, very useful tools for that aspect. But I think more than anything from the management perspective, and I'll keep hounding on it, is the knowledge that your troops are being ensured, that they're taken care of, that if something happens, they're gonna be covered. Because if they don't get covered, they lose out and the department loses out.
Yeah, and that's important to some of the companies out there, is making sure that you don't want to come in after that injury and start having to do research to make sure that insurance was in play, and if it's not, how are we going to handle this? And just finding out in the bottom of the ninth inning that you're not covered is not a good feeling at all. Let me toss this out there to you. With FAR being on board. Was it easy to give up control of your program to a third-party company? Because it sounds like everything that you're talking about now that you don't have control of your program anymore. Is that the case?
That's contrary. No, absolutely. We have complete control of our program. The sergeant that we have, we still use the old, phone call from a business to our sergeant, hey, I need this, or we can do the electronic request. But no, we dictate everything that needs to happen in our off-duty management program. We have, if let's say an officer is not meeting our expectations on that job, our sergeant has the capabilities of, removing his privileges for a designated amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
payment, we're able to dictate how much we want each officer paid. So no, John, contrary to that, we have full control of our program, but fortunately, you guys run it for us and it makes it a lot easier.
And certainly it is our pleasure. I see that Detective Chapa has jumped on now. Looks like you're doing good today. We've been through a bunch of questions with Chief so far. I'm gonna give him a chance to kind of catch his breath and take a drink of water. And Detective Chapa, I want to come back to you. He went through and explained some of the issues with the injury that you had on that paving job. So from the officer's perspective, how did you feel when you had that injury and you look up, next day or so and realize that you're out there on an island all by yourself now that you weren't covered?
Yeah, it's kind of a lonely feeling that you go out there with every confidence that do your job to the best of your ability to sometimes depending our job depending on certain situations we're subject to get injured, and it's comes with the job. We understand that part, but the understanding on our part is that we're going to be taken care of. We're going to be taken care of. Something happens to us, don't worry. Say, just heal up, get back to work as soon as possible. And then when it's not there, that little blanket that we like to carry around with us, it's not there no more. It makes you leave. It has a really empty feeling. It's not a very good one.
Yep, I can only imagine. So from the perspective of the line level officers that are out working these jobs, what are some of the key areas that you wanted the department to start looking for when they went to another solution, when they were getting strictly away from just a software base, went into a full service solution, in order to gain approval and satisfaction ratings from the people working the jobs? What were some of the things that you heard internally within the department that needed to be obviously included in a program? Because I would imagine that the officers as well were kind of shocked when they found out that you weren't covered on this injury, and they wanted to make sure that in the future that they were going to be. So what were some of the key components that you felt like that FAR needed to look for when they went for another solution?
Well, when I originally spoke to Chief Robles in reference to the movie of the new program, it's like everybody's used to was used to the roll call, and everybody fears change. Everybody fears change because you kind of, like the old saying goes, I'd rather stick with a devil that I know they'd rather go with a devil that I don't.
Right.
And the chief, when I spoke to him about it, and he mentioned that the new program coming in was going to already have insurance already automatically invested with the job. So the reason to not have to worry about the injuries, if any were applicable, wasn't no longer a question anymore. So that for me, that felt great, because I'd hate to have see another officer go through something similar or worse, because they can happen, and then for him to be left out in the same situation.
Right. Yeah.
And I know Chief Robles mentioned earlier, I've been on this meeting for quite a while, just haven't had a chance to join. The chief mentioned about the ability for everybody to get a job. Like a lot of guys I know were telling me, hey man, you got the job again, and it's like, hey dude, it's like sometimes it was like first come, first serve. And a lot of guys, do work graveyard overnight, or sleep. They have the jobs post early in the morning, and then they get up and they're all gone. So now all these guys get up and they're all happy about it. They're all like, hey, I got it. And it's like, so it's the fairness has pretty much leveled out a lot. So I hardly hear anyone complaining in reference to the ability to get a job. But as far as the insurances and whatnot, we haven't luckily had no one get injured. So, but it's still out there. Everybody knows now, hey, wait, this new company does cover us, so no worries.
Yeah, and as a career law enforcement officer working these jobs, I would imagine there's been times where you've worked them and you go home, and then you sit there and you wait on the check to appear. You sit there and wait and you wait and you wait, Do the officers feel more comfortable now knowing that there may be a mechanism in place for those timely payments to where they're not having to chase money?
Oh, yes. I mean, before, I mean, there was certain situations with roll call where the times that you had to stay over the lot of time of work due to some unforeseen reason. And of course, you clock out afterwards, and then there's a discrepancy with the company because you clocked out afterwards, and then so there's a waiting time for it to get approved.
Mhm.
So usually, and it wasn't one day to the next. It typically was about a week, maybe a week and a half. So then it finally get approved, and then once it gets approved, it's now they're charging you again if you want your money right there and then. They still charge you the fee instead of thinking, hey, you know what? You waited a week and a half for the approval. We're just going to go ahead and submit this on the next business day. No, they'll charge you again. And if you don't pay the fee to get it right there and then, and you wait for the bank draft to go through, you're subject to wait to almost 2 weeks. So there was a big dilemma with these guys always complaining, always calling roll call, always calling the sergeant, hey, Sarge, I'm not getting paid. What's going on? So, I can't imagine how my sergeant's phone was ringing off the hook. And there were a lot of guys complaining about it all the time. I know I went through quite a few of them. Luckily enough, I was patient enough where it finally paid out, but it was a long process, and it was like, and it was it almost made it seem like it wasn't worth going to work at that job through that app.
Right. Yeah, and that I can see where the frustrations mount, because by the time the paycheck finally hits, you forgot what you did to work for it. So we've talked a little bit about the insurance protections, a little bit about the payments and all, but you're out there in the field. You're firsthand using the technology side of that from the smartphone app. How has that been from a worker's perspective working these jobs? What's the ease in the technology?
I mean, it's simple. It's very simple. It's just I mean, at first it was a little. I get to know a little bit about it, but first week or so was touch and go. But then now it's super applicable. It's real easy, and I mean it's I think the fairness is like for me is the biggest aspect. If for whatever reason the job is there, and you can click on it, you can bid on it. What I do like about it is like the jobs do repost automatically if someone does cancel it. So there's an option to pick it up right away.
Mhm.
So I mean, the application itself is simple. It's simple enough for anyone to use.
Excellent. Great to hear. I want to pause for just a second. Looks like we've got probably about 15 more minutes to go. I want to reach over to Kelsey. Kelsey, have there been any questions that have popped up?
No, there has not been any questions as of yet. If anyone listening wants to go ahead and submit those questions, that way we can ask. Now would be a good time. So we'll give you, a minute or so if anyone wants to type one up real quick.
Okay, while we're waiting on that, I'm going to jump back to Chief for just a minute. So as agencies around the country are starting to look for these solutions to help administer their internal programs, what's some advice that you would give them that they need to be looking for, whether it's a software based or whether it's a full service solution? What are some key points that you think they need to consider?
I know for a fact that many departments like us depend on grant funding, whether it be Homeland Security money or we're based out of Texas, so TxDOT monies. Look for companies or platforms that we're very fortunate. I'm able to use the current model that we have to track and schedule all our grant funded overtime.
Mhm.
And I go back to the reporting aspect of it. I have to submit quarterly reports to either Department of Justice or the state, and it helps me justify and track all the hours that are being used. It was very helpful for me in a recent audit that we had. More backing to show that, hey, my guy worked these hours, and this is the proof that I have that they work the hours. So look for a platform that's going to be not only off-duty hours friendly, but something that's going to help you track your internal grant funding. Big key for me. That's very important. I know we covered and stressed on the insurance portion of it. That's very, very important. The capability and ability for the equitable sharing of jobs. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 2 police associations. When we would do things by hand, part of the 70% of my time was dealing with the police associations. Hey, why isn't my guy being taken care of? You're favoring this guy. No longer. I don't have that issue anymore. In a nutshell, for us, those are things that we look at, and I would recommend for other departments that are considering these types of platforms to look at.
Okay, I see we've got one question that popped up I want to throw out to you. Somebody's asking, so in your current program that you're using right now, what's the cost to the agency and what's the cost to the officers? I know that Detective Chapa mentioned, there was some tiered for some insurance and getting paid as soon as the job's over with. So what's the cost to the agency?
For the agency, zero. The vendor is the one that pays a percentage to the company that's doing the management. On the off-duty part of it, the officer, zero cost to him or her. The vendor is the one that pays the company directly for the use of the equipment or the use of the software and for hiring the police officer.
Which, that's the way it should be. They're the ones that are getting the benefit from these officers working for them. That's kind of where that cost should be absorbed. So as we're winding down now, I want to give each of you, if you would, and Detective Chapa, we'll start with you. Just some closing comments. What you like about your program, how it's working for you, what the internal among the rank and file officers are, how they like it, and just some closing points.
One of the things that I've encountered recently, and I think that was great, is the issues that we had before as far as payment with the other application we were using. You'd receive an anonymous phone call. Never know when. Through this app, there's you get a chat from the representative there asking questions in reference to the job, and you can immediately answer right through the chat, and it's settled there. And for me, it's a lot easier than having to receive an anonymous phone call, because I'm not sure if anybody else is like myself, but you get a phone call from a number you don't recognize, you don't answer it. And if you don't answer it, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get settled. You're not going to get paid.
Right.
So that was one of the little key things I noticed recently about the app. That was, that was very, very simple and very, very, very. You get the issue out of the way in order to get paid.
Great. Super point there, and thanks for mentioning that communication platform that's out there as well too. Chief, closing comments from you.
I think I highly recommend a off-duty job management platform to any department that's out there listening. It will help you free up a lot of time. It will help you with some of the headaches of equitable sharing on the jobs. And more than anything, it'll help you. And I covered it earlier in the first part of the meeting. The last thing you want is one of your officers is upset because the off-duty job went wrong, or they didn't get it, or they haven't gotten paid. And then the last thing you need is for that officer to come to work and you have a rudeness complaint or a use of force complaint because your officer is not in his proper state of mind. I'm very positive when I say that the current company that we have right now has helped us with all these things. And I highly recommend, from one manager to another, that you all consider a vendor like this, and you will see the advantages immediately.
Great. Certainly appreciate y'all's time today. Kelsey, real quick, have you got anything before we close it down?
There was one question that came in privately to me.
Okay.
And they asked, let me see. They asked if you were scheduling your, all of your jobs internally on your previous program that you had. Were you scheduling all that internally? Or were the vendors able to go in there and schedule it for themselves?
So if I'm hearing the question right, if a vendor was to call in to FAR Police Department needing an officer, were y'all having to go in internally and put that in that software and push it out then? Or did the vendors have that option of scheduling the officers?
No, the option that I used, I designate an employee, a supervisor. When the job requests come in, he creates those jobs. He makes the schedules based on the need by the company. The scheduling by the off-duty job company, that's where the use of the app comes in and the officers get selected. But as far as us making the schedules, yes, we do make the schedules, but the program helps us make the assignments of the officers.
Okay. Yes, yeah, I think that probably answered the question there.
Yeah, I think so. And that was it. That was all the questions.
Okay, great. Chief, Detective, on behalf of the company, I certainly want to thank y'all for y'all's time today. Thank you for being partners with us. And first and foremost, seeing the need to protect your officers when they're out there working these jobs and taking those steps to make sure that in the unfortunate event that something does happen, you can wake up the next morning knowing that they're going to be taken care of. For all those people that are on the call, if you are a National Academy graduate, we hope to see you out in Denver here in just about a week and a half or so. We'll be manning the booth and certainly would welcome a visit from anybody, and I'd love to share a little bit more about the company and how we can protect your officers when they're out there working these jobs. And again, thank you to the FBI National Academy Associates for giving us this opportunity to bring this to the forefront. It's a growing trend around the country. It's something that needs to be done, should have been done a long time ago, but usually until something happens, it's when you realize that you've got a mess that you need to get fixed. So we want to make sure that that departments have this information and can fix these problems before they come to a head. Again, Detective, thank you for your service. Glad you're doing well. Chief, thank you for staying in the battle. From a retired guy, it's nice to be on this side, but I sure do miss putting on that black polyester every now and then.
God bless y'all.
Thank you.